السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله على إحسانه وشكر له على تفضله وامتنانه، ولا إله إلا الله تعظيما لشأنه، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله داعي إلى رضوانه وعلى آله وأصحابه وإخوانه. يا ربي إن عظمت ذنوبي كثرة فلقد علمت بأن عفوك أعظم، إن كان لا يرجوك إلا محسن فبمن لا يلوذ ويستجير المجرم. أدعوك ربي كما أمرت تضرعا، فإذا رددت يدي فمن ذا يرحم. ما لي إليك الوسيلة إلا الرجاء، وجميل عفوك ثم أني مسلم. إخواني في الإسلام, we're continuing our lecture series regarding the signs of the Day of Judgment. We are looking at sign number 11, the fighting of the Muslims against the people of Turkish origin. This is minus sign number 11. Ikhwani fillah, in our history, the most difficult century is definitely the 7th century of Islam, between the year 600 and the year 699 of the Hijri calendar. This is the most difficult period in our history. In this century, we lost the city of Jerusalem, Baytul Maqdis. One of the grandchildren of Salah ad-Din Ayyubi, he betrayed the Muslims and gave Jerusalem for free to the Crusaders. We lost Jerusalem. We lost the great city of Spain, the capital city of Andalus, Qurtuba, the city of scholars, the city of ulama, in the year 633 of Hijri calendar. As we shall look tonight at how we lost Baghdad. And thereafter we shall look in the next lecture how we lost the city of Damascus and Aleppo. This is one of the worst centuries in Islamic history. And the very worst thing to happen to the Muslims in this century is the presence or the appearance of the Tatar of the Mongolians. Specifically, 3 Mongolians had a great negative effect upon the Muslims in terms of bloodshed, in terms of massacre. Genghis Khan, the founder of the empire of the Mongolians, his grandson, Hulagu Khan, that we shall look at tonight. And in the forthcoming lecture, we shall look at a man who is also a Mongolian, who claimed to be a Muslim, Timur Lenk. These are the 3 worst people with the Mongolians with regards to the Muslim history. But don't lose all hope. There's some good news thereafter. Do not lose all hope, Ikhwani fillah, with what you're going to say tonight. Yes, it is a black night. It's a black day of our history we're talking about. But do not lose hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Victory is near, and we shall look in the forthcoming lecture at the great battle of Ain Jalut in the lands of Palestine, inshallah. Ikhwani fillah, we spoke about the events of 617 of the Hijri calendar and how this is the worst year in the history of the Muslims. Genghis Khan massacred the populations of Iran, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan. He massacred so many Muslims that the population of Iran did not recover from pre-Genghis Khan levels except in our century. It did not recover until this century. From those centuries, this is the 6th, 7th century, and we're in the 15th century of Islamic history. So he massacred many people. This Mal'un, La'natullah alayhi, passed away in the year 624 of the Hijri calendar, Genghis Khan. His son took over, Ogedei Khan, the son of Genghis Khan. He became the Khan, became the great leader of the Mongolians. For a few years, there was no much war with the Muslims. Then he started again attacking. But this time he did not start specifically with Muslims. He fought Azerbaijan and Iran and took over. Then he decided that we Mongolians have to be the rulers of the entire world. Are we together? They have to rule the entire world. A barbaric bloodshed, they have to show the other communities that we are the strongest race. We are the leaders that will be chosen. So one of the leaders is called Batu ibn Jaja. He conquers Armenia, massacres the people of Armenia. He conquers Georgia, massacres the people of Georgia, enters the country of Russia. Russia is the biggest country in the world, 17 million square kilometers. He captures the entire of Russia, massacres the people of Moscow, the people of Vladivostok, all these cities of Russia. He's heading towards Europe. He wants to conquer the entire world. Baju, the son of, this is Batu, one of the children of Genghis Khan, or grandchildren. He conquers the whole of Russia, enters Ukraine, conquers Kiev, destroys and massacres the people of Kiev. Like hundreds of thousands are killed in a day. Easy for these people. Bloodshed was nothing for them. Conquers Poland, Slovakia, Croatia, Hungary, until they reach Turkey from the side of Europe. So they conquered all this area. This is by the year 639 of the Hijri calendar. He wants to conquer all these areas. But they were afraid of one particular place. They were afraid to conquer the country or the city of Baghdad. They were afraid of Iraq. For this was the capital city of the Islamic Empire, the most powerful state ever, the superpower at the time. This is Iraq of Umar ibn Khattab, Iraq of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, of Ali ibn Abi Talib, of Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. This is the Iraq of Harun al-Rashid. This is the Iraq of al-Mu'tasim. How can we conquer this? Let us conquer the entire world first, then we shall come and conquer al-Baghdad. Because these are the Muslims. They are very scary people. So they conquered the Mongolians, everything, and they reached Anadolu, the year 639. Their leader, Oghatay Khan, he passed away. A new leader came, it's called, I forgot his name. He led from 639 to 649. He did not do any more increase in the country. They did not do any more conquests. They stopped fighting for those 10 years. It was a peaceful 10 years, to the year 649 of the Hijri calendar. This year 649, they got a new leader, Monge Khan, La'natullah alayh. Monge Khan became the leader, and their capital city in a place in Mongolia called Karakorum. So this man had a lot of hate for Islam. He had a lot of hate for Islam. And most of his generals, because of the conquest of Europe, had married Christian wives. So the Christian wives were inciting them with their crusader mentality that you have to finish the Muslims. You have to destroy Islam for all of eternity. So these people had this hamasa, this passion to destroy Islam for all of eternity and to attack the qalb, the heart of Islam, the history, the center of Islamic civilization, the city of Baghdad. So they started from the year 649 to prepare for the mission of destruction of Baghdad. Ikhwani fillah, just to go out of topic, in the year 1969, in our century, there's a young man from Australia. He goes to Jerusalem. He's called Rohan, I believe. And he puts kerosene in the mosque, Masjid al-Aqsa. And he burns Masjid al-Aqsa. And the mimbar that was built by Salahuddin Ayyubi was burnt. In the year 1969, August. I think it was August 26th. He burns. The prime minister of the time of Israel, she's called Golda Meir. She's the only female prime minister in Israel. She says, Wallahi, I did not sleep that night a single wink. I did not sleep completely. For I feared the armies of the Muslims will come and attack us. But when I woke up in the morning, I realized that the ummah of the Muslims is an ummah that was sleeping. Ikhwani fillah, this is the same state we were then in the 7th century when Hulagu Khan and Monge Khan were preparing to destroy the Islamic Empire, and the more so the capital city, the city of civilization, the most beautiful, most developed, most civilized city in the world, the city of Baghdad, the capital city of the Islamic Empire and the seat of the Caliphate. The Prophet ﷺ, he was asked one day by his wife, Salama, Ya Rasulullah, anahliku wa fina salihun? Will we be destroyed and amongst us are righteous people? قال عليه الصلاة والسلام نعم, you shall be destroyed. إذا كثر فيكم الخبث. Even if they are righteous people, you are Muslims, you shall be destroyed if there's a lot of evil in your society. So there's a lot of evil in the society of the Muslims in this period. However, the Mongolians in the year 649, because they had that history of the Muslims, they had that fear of the Muslims, they could not rush to start attacking the Muslims. So Hulagu Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan, the brother to the leader of the Mongolians at the time of Khan, is called Hulagu Khan. All the Muslims know this history. If you read Arabic history, they know this Hulagu. You read more on him, inshallah. So in the year 649, he started in a place called Hamadan in Iran to plan how to destroy the Caliphate of the Muslims. From the year 649, he took 5 years preparation. 5 good years to prepare. Number one, he made sure that all the roads from China to Iraq were repaired. The bridges were built. And all the grass near the roads were untouched. No one was allowed to use these roads. That grass has to be to let it grow, so that the animals and the horses and the camels and whatever they use, when it passes these roads, they get food for the animals. So this was the first thing. Then he started training his armies, increasing the size of the armies, improving the weapons, getting engineers from China, from the Islamic State, Dawla al-Khawarizm that collapsed. He started preparation for 5 good years. That was the preparation from the side of the army and the side of engineering. Then after that, Mughal Khan, the great Khan at the time, he started preparing alliances. Number one, he says, let me make alliances with the Christians. Because the Christians, they have a problem with the Muslims regarding the Crusade wars and the jihad and such things. Let me use the Christians also against these Muslims. So, formed an alliance with Armenia. Armenia accepted, despite the massacre that happened to them at the hands of Baju, at the hands of Baju, they accepted. Georgia, they accepted. There were Christian kingdoms from the Crusader days in Antakya, in Jaffa, in Tarablis. They all accepted to assist. So this was alliances they formed. Thereafter, he started forming alliances with Christians within and Jews within the Islamic State in Syria and Iraq. And more particularly, the religious leader of the Christians in Baghdad, the Patriarch of Baghdad, I think it's called Mikhaqa or something of that sort. So they formed alliances with also these Christians. Number 4, number 5, and which is the worst form of betrayal, he formed alliances with some of the Muslim leaders that were around the city of Baghdad. He formed an alliance with the leader of Mosul, Badruddin al-Lu'lu. Formed an alliance with the leader of Syria, Nasir ibn Yusuf. With the leader of Homs, the city of Homs or Hama, Ashraf al-Ayyubi. He formed alliances with the Muslims. And the worst form thereafter, number 6, he had spies or alliances with ministers in the government of the Khalifa of the Muslims. Who in particular? With the Prime Minister of the Muslims. Who is this man that is forever known by the Muslims as the greatest betrayer in Islamic history? Who is this man? Mu'ayyuddin al-Alqami, al-Shi'i, la'natullah alayh. This was the Prime Minister from the year 642 to the year 656 when the Caliphate collapsed. So Ibn al-Alqami, he gave his assurance to Hulagu Khan that he shall do everything required to assist the Khan to take over the city of Baghdad and abolish the Caliphate for all of eternity. So these were the preparations that were made by Hulagu Khan from the year 649 to the year 654 of the Hijri calendar. 5 good years. After he's done these preparations and is ready, he says, now I have to prepare a great army. He says, an army will come from China, from Mongolia, that I personally will lead, Hulagu Khan. An army of 200, 300,000, we do not know the numbers. It was a great number. This is number 1. A second army, he'll be given one of his most famous generals, a Christian general who's also Mongolian, Qutbuga Nuwayn, he'll lead the second army. And a third army will come from Europe, from Russia, from the Volga River, from Anatolia. That's an army led by one of the most famous generals of Mongolia called Biju. So 3 armies from the Mongolians. Number 4, an army from the allies, from Georgia, from Armenia, from the Muslims of Mosul, from the Muslims of Syria. All this will participate in liberating of Iraq, I even can't pronounce the word, of destruction of the Caliphate of the Muslims. So this was the plan that was made by Hulagu Khan, and they made a meeting in the city of Hamadan. Final preparation to attack the city of Baghdad to finish the capital city of the Islamic Empire. This is one of the signs of the Day of Judgment. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, the hour will not be established حَتَّى يُقَاتِلُ الْمُسْلِمُونَ Turk. The hour will not be established until the Muslims will fight the people of Turkish origin. And he describes them, he says, صِغَارُ الْأَعْيُنِ, very small eyes. حُمْرُ الْوُجُوهِ, their face has a red complexion. He continues, he says, ذُلُفْ أُنُفْ, they have small noses that are wide. كَأَنَّ وُجُوهَهُمَ الْمَجَانَ الْمُطْرَقَةِ, like their faces are beaten up shields. In a different hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, يَسْلُبْ مُلْكَ أُمَّتِي قَوْمٌ صِغَارُ الْأَعْيُنِ. Or كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام, he says that my nation, the Quraysh, will lose their kingship to people who have small eyes. So they met in Hamadan in the year 654 for final meeting to destroy the city of Baghdad. But then they realized, we have a problem. We want to make sure that victory is guaranteed. But we have a small problem. A small group of people in Iran, in a place called Jabal Alamut. This is the Ismaili sect. And this sect, Ikhwani Fillah, as we mentioned in previous lectures, is the scariest sect in history, in all world history. The Ismaili, the Aga Khan, this is the scariest sect. They were known as the Hashashiyin, the people who smoke hashish, they smoke bangi. And this word Hashashiyin later on became in English assassins. The assassins. They were famous for assassinations. They assassinated many famous Muslims, many famous crusaders. These people are very dangerous. Hulagu Khan was afraid of them. So he said, let me deal first with this Ismailis. So he goes to Iran with a great army, besieges Jabal al-Maut. He fights them until he finishes off Sheikh al-Jabal, the Sheikh of the mountain, who was the leader of the Ismailis at the time. And he did this in the entire year of 655. Then came 656, the year 656 of the Hijri calendar, which is 1258 of the Christian calendar. 656 Islamic calendar, 1258 of the Christian calendar, one of the darkest years also in our history. In the month of Muharram, after everything was confirmed, now he's ready to attack Baghdad. He comes with his army, Hulagu Khan, and besieges the east of Baghdad. The second army, led by Qatbu Ghawain, comes and besieges the south of Baghdad. The other army was coming from very far. It was coming from Turkey, from Anadolu. So when the Khalifa, he saw this, he says, what am I to do now? He calls a meeting for all his ministers and asks them, what's your opinion? They all talk. This evil Shia minister, Al-Alqami, he says, we have to make peace with the Mongolians, accept what they want. Let's make peace and prevent bloodshed. He had already made his plans beforehand with Hulagu Khan, so he knows what he was saying. But two ministers, Sulaiman Shah and Mujahidin Aybak, they brought a different opinion, an opinion that had not been had in Islamic history in the country of Iraq for a very long time. They said, La, bal nujahidu fi sabilillah. We shall fight al-jihad fi sabilillah against these people that are attacking our lands. But what was the state of Iraq at the time? The Khalifa, listening to his prime minister, had reduced his army from 100,000 knights to an army of 10,000 soldiers. Only 10,000. And they were not trained. They were not given salaries. The minister told him, we need to spend more money on the economy, on the roads, on agriculture and such things. Let's not waste money on the army. So the army was only 10,000. So the Khalifa says to the ministers, you do as you please. So Mujahidin Aybak, he comes out with this weak army of 10,000 to meet the great army of the Mongolians, an army that has never been defeated, except once maybe in Afghanistan, in Ghazni, by the Muslims. It has never tasted defeat in reality. So he comes out and he says, I'm going to fight Hulagu Khan. As he's going to fight Hulagu Khan, he hears very distressing news that the army of the Mongolians from Turkey, from Beji, that was led by Baju, it's coming from Anadolu. It's reached Anbar, the province of Anbar, a few kilometers from Baghdad. And this army is going to besiege the west and the north of Baghdad. So Mujahidin Aybak, says, instead of fighting Hulagu Khan, let me go fight Beju so that the city of Baghdad is not besieged from everywhere. So he goes and he fights Baju, but he's defeated. His army is 10,000 versus well-trained people who have conquered most of Europe. They defeat him, and he runs and escapes. In an amazing manner, he escapes back to Baghdad. So the Khalifa doesn't know what to do. The city of Baghdad is the most fortified city. It's not easy to conquer the city of Baghdad. This was the capital city of the Muslims for over 500 years, from times of Harun al-Rashid, from the times of Mu'tasim al-Ma'mun, from all those great Khalifas. This was the city. This was the capital city. This is where Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal came from. This is the city of Abu Hanifa. This is the city of the great scholars of Islam. It is not a simple city to conquer. So he doesn't know what to do. He calls his ministers, and the ministers, they tell them, no, now we have to make a peace agreement with the Mongolians, with the Tatar. We have to talk to Hulagu Khan and accept whatever Hulagu wants. So the Khalifa, he accepts. And he sends a delegation of 2 people to meet with the Mongolians to negotiate on behalf of the Ummah al-Islamiyah, the nation of the Muslims. Who are these two people he sent? A delegation to represent the Muslims. Two people. Who are these two people that he sent? He sent the Christian patriarch of Baghdad, and he sent his evil minister, Shia, Rafidi, Al-Alqami, to represent the Muslims. So these two, they go to Hulagu Khan. Hulagu Khan promises them that you shall be the leaders afterwards. He promises them a lot of wealth, a lot of positions for themselves and their families. He gives them a lot of promises, and he will most likely keep those promises. So they're content. And they take the conditions from Hulagu Khan, and they come back to the Khalifa, and they tell him, Khalifa, we have spoken to Hulagu Khan, we have good news. Number one, he says that he wants peace. He does not want to harm anyone. Number two, he shall not harm the people of Baghdad. He gives you security. Number three, you shall remain as the Khalifa. But he has some conditions. Condition number one, the daughter of Hulagu Khan must get married to the son of the Khalifa. That's condition number one. Type. Condition number two, you have to destroy all these walls and these trenches. Destroy it. Make it easy for us to enter the city of Baghdad. Open for us the gates of Baghdad. Make everything easy. Number three, no weapons allowed in Baghdad. Everyone knows the weapon has to surrender the weapon. We want peace, we have not come to fight war. Number four, there are those extremist people who are calling to jihad, Sulaiman Shah and Mujahideen Aybak and the likes of these people. We want these people to be dealt with. And we are expecting your answer in the next few hours. So the Khalifa, he starts thinking, what am I going to do? But Hulagu Khan doesn't even give him time to think. He starts shooting arrows towards the palace of the Khalifa. And one of the dancing girls of the Khalifa was killed, and he got distressed because of that. Imagine the Khalifa of the Muslims will be attacked, and there's dancers that are beside him. And if you look at the biography of this man, the Khalifa, you will see amazing things. He was a reciter of the Quran. وَكَانَ عَلَى مَذْهَبِ السُنِّ عَلَى مَذْهَبِ أَهْلِ السَّلَفِ. He had a lot of praise from the scholars. But this was the state. He did not prepare the Muslims for such an eventuality. The Mongolians were not something new to the Muslims. They had been there for over 50 years. So the Muslims know that this is a dangerous group that massacres people, that has a lot of bloodshed, that we have to secure ourselves against them. He did not take any action. So when the arrows started falling, he had no choice. He had to go meet the leader, Hulagu Khan, by himself. Hulagu Khan tells him, come to me with your ministers, with your businessmen, with your scholars. Come with me with the people who are the nobles of your society. So the Khalifa comes with 700 of the best of the people of Baghdad to meet Hulagu Khan outside of Baghdad. The bodyguards of Hulagu Khan, they say only 17 of you are allowed. The rest of you, we have to search for weapons. Maybe you're hiding weapons. No, it's very risky for our leader. So the rest of you have to stay aside. This 17 can go see our leader, Hulagu Khan. So the Khalifa, with those 17, enters and sees Hulagu Khan. This 700 minus 17, 683, they were left. There's no searching that was done for. They were taken aside and they're all executed, or they're all beheaded the same way you kill a goat. They're killed. The Khalifa, he comes and he's told, now you have to surrender the city of Baghdad to us. Tell the people of Baghdad, no more fighting allowed. Yes, I will do that. Number two, we shall take you around Baghdad. You have to show us where the treasures of the Abbasid Caliphate are hidden. You have to show us all the treasures of Baghdad. So they enter the city of Baghdad, the Mongolians, with the Caliph of the Muslims, Al-Musta'sim al-Billah, the 37th Khalifa of the Muslims, and the final Khalifa from the Dawla al-Abbasiyah, number 37, Al-Musta'sim Billah. So they enter with him, and he shows them where the wealth is hidden, the treasures. Hulagu Khan makes jokes of him. He says, you had all this wealth, and you could not prepare an army to look after it. Take this gold, eat it. Will it benefit you? He starts making mockery of him. Thereafter, La'natullah alayh, in the month of Safar, the year 656 of the Hijri calendar, Hulagu Khan, one of the most evil men that we know in our history, he issued a command for his army: kill whoever you want in Baghdad. Do whatever you want to the people of Baghdad. You have every freedom I've given you. And the armies of the Mongolians from the south, from the west, from the north, from every single direction. They entered the city, the capital city of the Muslims in Baghdad, and they started massacring Muslims everywhere. 40 days of massacre, 40 days of bloodshed. We lost, Ikhwani Fillah, over 1 million Muslims in Baghdad. The Muslims had so much fear of the Mongolians that a Mongolian will find a Muslim on the road with his family trying to escape and tells him, how? You're trying to escape. Where's my weapon? Where's my sword? I've forgotten my sword. You stay there. Let me go get my sword. And he goes home and gets his sword and he finds the Muslim still there waiting for him. Come here, slaughter you. Come here. Next, slaughter him like sheep. The fear was in the hearts. These people, the Mongolians, the people had believed that this is the Ya'juj or Ma'juj. That this is the Ya'juj or Ma'juj that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in the Quran. The people, they believed that the Mongolians do not die. They believed that the Mongolians cannot be fought. We cannot do anything about them. This is the adab of Allah. We cannot do much about it. Another Mongolian, he comes, he finds 40 children in a hospital in Baghdad. 40 small children, infants. He takes his sword and starts killing each one. People have no heart, heartless. So the people of Baghdad were massacred in such an evil, scary manner. One of the worst massacres in history completely. Over 1 million Muslims lost their lives in the city of Baghdad. And amongst them, the great scholar of Baghdad, Yusuf, the son of Abdurrahman al-Jawzi, Ibn Jawzi. Ibn Jawzi is one of the great scholars from the Hanabila. His son Yusuf is amongst the people who lost their lives because of the fitna of Ibn Alqami. Ibn Alqami actually wrote a list. These are the scholars of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. These are the ones you should finish. These are the judges. And they were all killed, almost of them. After 40 days, in the year 656 of the Hijri calendar, Hulagu Khan, he noticed a lot of disease was spreading amongst the army because of the number of dead bodies and none were buried. So the smell and the disease started spreading amongst the army. And he told the people, no, stop killing, no more killing. And he assured security to the people of Baghdad. The people who managed to escape are people who had hidden themselves in graves or in wells. They came out black, dark. These are Arabs, they have light skin, but they came out dark, thin, and they started burying their dead in Baghdad. But this La'natullah alayhi did not stop there, Hulagu Khan. He went to the library of the Muslims, the greatest library known to human beings at the time, ever, Bayt al-Hikmah. This is a library that had millions and millions of books, from books that were lost, the books of the Greeks, Aristotle and Plato, from the books of the Muslims, of the fiqh, of the astronomy, of medicine. They went to the library, they took all the books and they threw it in the Tigris River until the river of the Tigris became black with the ink. They destroyed all the books in this great library. For benefit, in this century, I don't know how many libraries you lost. In the year 636, Cordoba had already befallen. One of the cardinals in Spain, he took over 1 million books of the Muslims and destroyed the books in Cordoba. Granada will fall after 2 more centuries. They destroyed all the books. Trabolis in Tripoli there's 2 Tripolis in Libya and in Lebanon. They destroyed the great library of Tripoli that had 3 million books. And in Baghdad, we lost the great library of Bayt al-Hikmah. Ikhwani fillah, this is a dark history that happened, and it's one of the signs of the Day of Judgment that we Muslims shall be harmed, shall be fought, shall be killed, shall be massacred by a group of people that have small eyes, red complexion. In the forthcoming lectures, we have looked at Genghis Khan, we have looked at Hulagu Khan, but we have not finished with Hulagu Khan. Hulagu Khan is going to enter the country of Syria. What is he going to do in Syria? And thereafter, Ikhwani fillah, when all hope has been lost in the world, and the people of Europe and the people of Islam, they believe that these Mongolians cannot be defeated. Alhamdulillah, from the land of Egypt, a man with his army and a slogan, Wa Islama, Ma Islam. I'm going to fight for Islam for tonight. Wa Islama, one of the most famous slogans in Islamic history. This man, he came and he fought the Mongolians in Palestine and he defeated them. What is the story of the Muslims and how they massacred in Syria by Hulagu Khan? and what is the great battle that happened where the Muslims were victorious against the Mongolians. This is what we shall look at in our forthcoming lecture. Wallahu alam. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.